The taxi pulled away, leaving me standing in front of my house with a small suitcase and $35 less in my wallet. 12 days. That's how long I'd been gone. 12 days in a hospital bed, fighting an infection that nearly killed me after emergency gallbladder surgery. 12 days of nurses asking, "And your family, ma'am? When are they visiting?" While I smiled and lied through my teeth. The house looked different. Wrong somehow. The curtains in the front window, those weren't mine. Mine had been white lace, the ones Arthur and I picked out together 20 years ago. These were gray, modern, lifeless. And my rose bush, the one I'd planted the spring after Arthur died, the one that bloomed every June without fail. It was brown, skeletal, dying of thirst in the afternoon sun. I shifted my grip on the suitcase. The incision under my blouse pulled tight with every breath, a reminder that I was still healing, or trying to. The doctor said I was lucky. Another few hours and the infection would have spread to my bloodstream. Sepsis, they called it. The kind of thing that kills women my age. I walked up the path slowly, each step deliberate. My hand trembled as I put the key in the lock. Inside, the house was silent in a way that made my skin prickle. Not the comfortable silence of an empty home, but something else. Something deliberate. I left my suitcase by the door and walked down the hallway. The living room was spotless, too spotless. Those rock-hard gray pillows on my sofa, the ones that matched the new curtains. The coffee table books arranged just so, titles I'd never bought. And where the photographs used to hang. Arthur in his cab driver uniform, Kevin at his college graduation. My parents on their 50th anniversary. There was nothing. Just lighter squares on the wall, ghosts of what used to be. My bedroom door stood open. I don't know what made me stop in the doorway instead of walking straight in. Some instinct, maybe. Some part of me that already knew. The room was empty, not just cleared out, erased. The bed Arthur built by hand in our garage, gone. The dresser we bought at our first apartment, the one with the wobbly drawer I never got around to fixing, gone. The nightstand where I kept my Bible and Arthur's reading glasses, gone. Even the rug, the one Kevin had given me for my 60th birthday, was gone. In their place, yoga mats rolled in the corner, a ring light on a tripod, a vanity table I'd never seen before, covered in makeup and hair products, a full-length mirror with those bright bulbs all around the edge, like something from a movie set. My knees went weak. I grabbed the door frame, my fingers digging into the wood. Through the back window I could see them, 6 cardboard boxes stacked against the fence in the backyard. Even from here I could see they were dark with moisture, corners sagging, falling apart in the morning dew. "Oh, you're back." I turned slowly to find Nicole standing behind me in the hallway. She was wearing a silk robe, pale pink, the expensive kind, and holding a compact mirror, touching up her makeup. My mirror, actually. The antique one with the mother-of-pearl handle that Arthur gave me for our 10th anniversary. She glanced at me, then back at her reflection. "I didn't think you were coming back, so I converted your room. I'm starting an online beauty business, makeup tutorials, skincare routines, that sort of thing. The lighting in here is absolutely perfect. North-facing window, you know?" She said it the way you'd comment on the weather. Casual, matter of fact. As if I hadn't just spent nearly 2 weeks in the hospital. As if my entire life wasn't sitting in wet boxes in the backyard. "Where exactly did you think I was going to sleep?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. Nicole waved a hand, still focused on her mascara. "The guest room, obviously. Barbara, honestly, you don't need all this space. 1 person in a 3-bedroom house? It's kind of wasteful when you think about it. The guest room is actually quite cozy, and you'll be more comfortable in a smaller space, less to maintain at your age. At my age. As if 67 made me incapable of walking from one room to another. Something happened in that moment. Something shifted deep in my chest, like a lock clicking open. Or maybe like a cage door finally closing on something that had been running wild for too long. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It wasn't a forgiving smile. It was the smile of a woman who had just finished being patient. "I see," I said quietly. "And where exactly are my belongings?" "In the backyard. I put them out there a couple days ago. I figured when you got back you could go through them, keep what you need." She snapped the compact shut, finally looking at me directly. "Barbara, don't make that face. It's not like I threw anything away. Well, a few things that were pretty worn out, but nothing important." Nothing important. My mother's rosary, the blankets I'd knitted during the long nights after Arthur died, the letters Kevin wrote me from summer camp, the ones that said, "I miss you, Mom, and you're the best in the world." I turned and walked toward the back door. Nicole called after me. "I left some boxes in the garage, too, the ones with your old clothes. Some of them were honestly pretty dated, Barbara. We should really take you shopping sometime." I didn't hear the rest. I was standing in the backyard, looking at what remained of my life. 6 boxes, just like I'd seen through the window. But up close, they were worse. The cardboard was splitting, dark with water damage. One had tipped over, spilling photographs across the concrete. My wedding day, Kevin's first birthday, Arthur holding baby Kevin in the hospital. The photos were stuck together, the images already fading, bleeding into each other in the moisture. I knelt down carefully, my surgical incisions screaming in protest. My hands shook as I picked up the photograph on top. Arthur and me, young and hopeful, standing in front of the empty lot where this house would eventually stand. His arm around my shoulders, both of us squinting in the sun, smiling like we owned the world. We didn't own anything back then. Just each other and a dream. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but the tears wouldn't come. Maybe I'd run out of them in the hospital, lying alone in that bed while my son sent text messages instead of visiting, while his wife decided I was taking up too much space in my own home. Instead, I felt something else. Something cold and clear and absolutely certain. I was done. Done being invisible. Done being convenient. Done being something to be managed and moved aside and eventually disposed of. I stood up, leaving the photographs where they were, and went back inside. Nicole was in the kitchen, making herself a smoothie in my blender. She looked up when I walked in, and something in my face made her pause, the frozen berries still in her hand. "Is everything okay?" "No," I said calmly, "but it will be." That night I couldn't sleep, not because of the pain, though the incision still throbbed with every breath. Not because of the guest room, though the bed was smaller and harder than what I was used to. I couldn't sleep because my mind wouldn't stop moving, turning over everything that had happened, everything I'd missed while I'd been busy being accommodating. I sat up, careful not to pull the stitches, and took out my phone. The blue light illuminated the small room. Kevin's old bedroom, actually, the one he'd grown up in. There were still marks on the wall where his baseball pennants used to hang. I typed into the search bar, "Can family members sell house without owner permission?" The answer came back immediately. Not without power of attorney or legal guardianship. I clicked another link. Elder conservatorship laws. My stomach dropped as I read. Conservatorship, a legal arrangement where a court declares someone incapable of managing their own affairs and appoints someone else to make decisions for them. It was meant to protect vulnerable elderly people from exploitation, but it could also be used to exploit them. I kept reading, clicking through link after link, the pieces falling into place. If someone could convince a judge that I was incapable of managing my finances, my property, my life, they could take control of everything, including this house. Through the wall, I heard voices. Nicole and Kevin's bedroom was next door. I couldn't make out the words, but I recognized the tones. Nicole's was sharp, insistent. Kevin's was quieter, uncertain. Then, clearly, "She's being dramatic, Kevin. It's not like we threw her stuff away." Maybe we should have waited. Waited for what? For her to live forever? We've been putting our lives on hold for 2.5 years. Eventually, we need to make decisions for her. For her. Not with her. For her. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. The next morning, I waited until they left, Kevin to his accounting firm, Nicole to wherever she went during the day. Then I searched. I started in Nicole's home office, the room that used to be where I kept my sewing machine and fabric scraps, where I'd made Halloween costumes for Kevin and quilts for his friends' babies. The desk drawers were locked, but the key was exactly where people always think is clever, taped under the top drawer. Inside, I found a folder labeled Johnson Property Assessment. My hands shook as I opened it. A real estate appraisal, dated 3 weeks ago. The house, my house, the one I built with my own hands, was worth $320,000. I'd had it appraised 2 years ago when Kevin and Nicole moved in, just to update my insurance. Back then, it was valued at $280,000. There was a handwritten note clipped to the appraisal. "Tyler Brooks, Suncoast Realty, says market is hot. could get asking price within 2 weeks. Beneath that, a legal pad with calculations in Nicole's precise handwriting. $320,000 times 6% commission equals $19,200 net. $300,800 divided by 2 equals $150,400 each. Down payment for Pacific Heights condo, $100,000, remaining $50,400 cushion each. They were planning to split the money from selling my house. My house. I took photographs with my phone, my hand steadying as anger replaced shock. Then I kept searching. In the bottom drawer, hidden under a stack of yoga magazines, I found printed emails. The first was from someone named Melissa Torres at Prestige Properties. Nicole, following up on our conversation, I understand the owner is elderly and recently hospitalized. I know these situations can be delicate, but if you're looking to sell, now might be the right time. The market won't stay this hot forever. Let me know when you're ready to list and I can have comparable properties and staging recommendations within 24 hours. Nicole's response, thanks, Melissa, working on the timing, waiting for the right moment. The right moment to sell my house. The house I built after Arthur died, when everyone told me I should just move in with my sister and be grateful. The house I paid for by cleaning offices at night and selling tamales every weekend. The house where I raised Kevin, where every wall and floorboard represented a piece of my life. I kept searching, methodical now, documenting everything. And then, in the bathroom trash can, because people always think nobody checks the trash, I found it. A crumpled document, partially torn but enough of it intact to read the letterhead. Silverstein and Associates, Attorneys at Law. And the subject line, Petition for Conservatorship, Barbara Ann Johnson. The room tilted. I sat down hard on the edge of the bathtub, the paper shaking in my hands. They were trying to have me declared incompetent. I read through what remained of the document. It was a template, partially filled out. Petitioner, Nicole Marie Johnson. Relationship to proposed conservatee, daughter-in-law. Grounds for conservatorship. Declining mental capacity, inability to manage finances, recent hospitalization suggesting deteriorating health. There was more, but the rest was torn away. I took pictures of everything. Then I put it all back exactly as I'd found it, locked the drawers, replaced the key under the top drawer, and walked out of that room on legs that felt like water. I went straight to Margaret Hayes's house. Margaret has lived next door for 38 years, since before Kevin was born. She was there the day Arthur and I broke ground on this house. She brought lemonade while we dug post holes. She held my hand at Arthur's funeral. And 2 weeks ago, when Nicole closed the door in my face and told me to take Tums, Margaret was the one who drove me to the emergency room at 3 a.m. She opened the door in her gardening gloves, dirt smudged on her cheek, and took one look at my face. "Come in," she said. "I'll make coffee." We sat at her kitchen table, the same table where we'd solved 1,000 problems over the years. Broken hearts, financial troubles, the ordinary disasters of living. But this was different. I showed her the photographs on my phone, the appraisal, the calculations, the emails, the conservatorship petition. Margaret's face went pale. "Barbara, this is serious. They're trying to declare you incompetent?" "Apparently. But you're sharp as a tack. No judge would—" She stopped herself, understanding dawning. "Unless they're building a case. I'm 67. I just had major surgery. I live alone. I'm on a fixed income." I heard my voice, flat and factual. If Nicole finds the right doctor, the right lawyer, presents it as concern for my welfare, that evil little— Margaret caught herself. "What are you going to do?" "I need a lawyer. A real one." Margaret pulled out her phone immediately. "My book club friend Linda. Her daughter is a paralegal at a big firm downtown. Let me text her." While we waited for a response, Margaret made coffee and I sat there, feeling the full weight of it settle over me. My son, my baby boy, the one I'd sacrificed everything for, was helping his wife steal from me. Or maybe he didn't know. Maybe Nicole was doing this alone and Kevin was just— what? Conveniently blind? Margaret's phone buzzed. "Linda says her daughter recommends James Patterson. He specializes in elder law, estate planning, financial abuse cases, conservatorship disputes. His office is on Harbor Boulevard." "How much does someone like that cost?" Margaret looked at me seriously. "Does it matter?" "I have about $20,000 left in savings. After the surgery—" "Barbara, If you don't fight this, you'll lose everything anyway, including the house." She was right. I knew she was right. I called James Patterson's office from Margaret's kitchen. The receptionist said he had an opening tomorrow at 10. I took it. That night I lay in Kevin's old bedroom and stared at the ceiling. Downstairs I could hear Nicole laughing at something on television. She had no idea I knew. No idea the floor was about to drop out from under her. But I knew something she didn't. I wasn't the same woman who'd left this house 12 days ago on a stretcher. That woman had been afraid. Afraid of being a burden, afraid of being alone, afraid of losing her son's love. That woman had almost died in the hospital while her family couldn't be bothered to visit. This woman, the one lying here in the dark, planning her next move, this woman had nothing left to lose, and that made her dangerous. James Patterson's office was on the 3rd floor of a building that smelled like new carpet and expensive coffee. The waiting room had leather chairs and magazines I'd never heard of. The receptionist, a young woman with perfect posture, smiled at me like I was someone important. "Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Patterson will see you now." James Patterson was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with wire-rimmed glasses and a firm handshake. His office had floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a window overlooking the harbor. On his desk was a framed photograph of 2 kids on bicycles. "Mrs. Johnson, please sit down. My assistant said you have concerns about potential financial abuse." I opened my purse and took out my phone. "I have evidence." For the next 20 minutes, I showed him everything. He didn't interrupt, just made notes on a yellow legal pad. When I got to the conservatorship petition, his jaw tightened. "May I?" He held out his hand for my phone, then enlarged the image, studying it carefully. "Silverstein and Associates. I know that firm. They specialize in estate planning, but they also handle conservatorships." He looked up at me. "Mrs. Johnson, when is your birthday?" "March 15th, 1959. "And what did you have for breakfast this morning?" "Oatmeal with blueberries." "Why, who's the current president?" I understood then. He was testing me. "You want to know if I'm competent?" "I want to establish for the record that you are fully aware and oriented." He smiled slightly. "You clearly are. But we need documentation, medical proof. A judge won't take conservatorship lightly, but we need to be prepared." He sat back in his chair, tapping his pen against the pad. "This is financial elder abuse, Mrs. Johnson, attempted fraud. If they've forged your signature on anything, and based on these emails, I suspect they have, that's a felony. We're talking serious criminal charges." My mouth went dry. "My son could go to prison?" "If he's involved, yes." James's voice was gentle but firm. "Mrs. Johnson, I need to ask you directly. Are you prepared for that possibility?" I thought about Kevin at 7, crying because he'd lost his first tooth and was afraid he'd never get another one. Kevin at 14, helping me wrap tamales before school, his hands clumsy but willing. Kevin at 23, graduating college, the first in our family, tears in his eyes as he thanked me in his speech. Then I thought about Kevin 3 weeks ago, checking his phone while I lay in a hospital bed, saying he had an important meeting and couldn't stay. "Yes," I said, "I'm prepared." "Good. Here's what we need to do." James pulled out a fresh legal pad. "First, we verify the deed is solely in your name with no liens. Second, we check your credit report. If they've opened accounts or taken loans in your name, we'll find them. Third, we get medical documentation of your competency. Fourth, we gather more evidence. And fifth, we confront them with everything we have. How long will this take?" 2 weeks if we move fast, 3 at most." He leaned forward. "Mrs. Johnson, I won't lie to you. This is going to be expensive. My retainer is $5,000, and depending on how complicated this gets, I have $20,000 in savings. Use what you need." He nodded slowly. "Then let's get started." The next morning, I went to Dr. Rachel Cooper's office. She'd been my surgeon, the one who'd saved my life when my gallbladder ruptured. She was a no-nonsense woman with kind eyes and steady hands. "Mrs. Johnson, good to see you up and around. How's the incision healing?" "Fine, doctor, but I'm here for something else." I explained what I needed. Dr. Cooper's expression darkened as I told her about the conservatorship petition. "They're claiming declining mental capacity? That's absurd. You were fully oriented through your entire hospital stay. You managed your own medications, understood all the post-surgical instructions, even caught an error in one of the nurse's notes. Can you put that in writing?" "Absolutely. She turned to her computer and started typing immediately. 10 minutes later, she handed me a letter on official letterhead. Patient Barbara Johnson is fully recovered from emergency cholecystectomy performed on date. Throughout her hospitalization and subsequent follow-up appointments, Mrs. Johnson has demonstrated excellent cognitive function, appropriate emotional affect, and complete independence in activities of daily living. She manages her own medications without assistance, comprehends complex medical information, and makes informed decisions about her care. There is no medical basis for any claim of diminished mental capacity. Mrs. Johnson is of sound mind and fully capable of managing her own affairs. I felt something loosen in my chest. Thank you. Barbara, Dr. Cooper's voice was softer now. I see this sometimes. Adult children who think they're doing the right thing by taking over. But this, she gestured to the letter, this is different. This is predatory. You fight this. The next day, I went to a neuropsychologist James had recommended. 3 hours of cognitive testing, memory, reasoning, problem-solving, attention span. The psychologist, a soft-spoken man named Dr. Williams, smiled as he reviewed my scores. Mrs. Johnson, your cognitive function is well above average for your age. You scored in the 90th percentile on most measures. There is absolutely no indication of dementia, cognitive decline, or impaired judgment. Another letter for James's file. But it was the bank that delivered the real blow. I'd requested copies of all my statements for the past year, sitting with a clerk at First National while she pulled up my accounts. I watched the numbers scroll by on her screen and my heart started to pound. Wait, go back to September. She clicked back. There it was, September 18th. Withdrawal, $8,500. Cash. I never withdrew cash. I used my debit card for everything, kept meticulous records. And October? October 23rd. Wire transfer, $12,000. Memo, Nicole Johnson, business investment. Business investment. With my money, without my permission. And November? The clerk's face changed. Mrs. Johnson, are you aware you have a mortgage on your property? The room tilted. What? A mortgage was originated November 3rd. $80,000 home equity loan through Pacific Trust. It shows here as an automatic payment of $620 per month from your checking account. I never took out a mortgage. The house has been paid off for 15 years. The clerk's fingers flew over the keyboard. According to this, you refinanced. The paperwork was processed through a notary in Henderson, Nevada? I've never been to Nevada in my life. She turned the screen toward me. Is this your signature? I looked at the scanned document. The signature looked like mine. Similar loops, the same slant. But I knew my own hand. This was close, but not quite right. The B in Barbara was too rounded. The tail on the J in Johnson too short. No, I said. That's not my signature. The clerk's face went pale. Mrs. Johnson, you need to file a fraud report. This is identity theft. I took pictures of everything. The fake signature, the loan documents, the wire transfers. Then I went straight to James's office. He reviewed the documents, his expression growing grimmer with each page. They forged your signature on a mortgage application. That's federal fraud, Mrs. Johnson. Wire fraud, bank fraud, identity theft. We're talking serious federal charges now, not just state. Can we prove it wasn't me? The notary stamp is from Nevada. Were you in Nevada on November 3rd? I was having lunch with Margaret. She can verify that. Good. We'll also get a handwriting analysis done. He made more notes. Mrs. Johnson, this changes everything. We're not just talking about financial abuse anymore. This is organized fraud. And if your son knew about this, I need to check something, I interrupted. Can I look at his computer? James paused. Legally, I have to advise you that accessing someone else's computer without permission could be problematic. But if it's in your home and you're the homeowner, he looked at me meaningfully. What you do in your own house is your business. I understood. That afternoon, I waited until Nicole left for her Pilates class. Kevin was at work. The house was empty. Nicole's laptop was in the home office, plugged in, charging. I opened it, expecting a password screen, but it opened directly to her email. She'd never logged out. I felt a momentary pang of guilt. This was snooping, invasive, wrong. Then I remembered my belongings in wet boxes in the backyard and opened her sent folder. I searched for Kevin, and found hundreds of messages. I started reading. October 15th, Nicole to Kevin. The loan application went through. $80,000. I told you it would work. The notary I found doesn't ask too many questions. Kevin's response. I still don't feel good about this. Mom didn't sign those papers. Nicole. Kevin, we've been over this. Your mother is 67 years old. She had a major health scare. She's not competent to manage her finances anymore. We're just doing what needs to be done. When we get the conservatorship, this will all be retroactively authorized anyway. Kevin. What if she finds out before then? Nicole. She won't. She barely looks at her bank statements. And even if she does, what's she going to do? She's one sick old lady against both of us. Who do you think people will believe? I stopped reading, put my hand over my mouth, took 3 deep breaths. Then I kept going. November 20th, Nicole to Kevin. Tyler came by for the appraisal. House is worth $320,000. After commission, we cleared just over $300,000. Split that, we each get $150,000. That's our down payment and cushion for the Pacific Heights place. Kevin's response. What about Mom? Where would she go? Nicole. Your aunt's place in Sacramento, or one of those nice senior communities. Kevin, this is our inheritance. We're just accessing it a little early. Your mom would want you to be happy. She'd want you to have your own place. Kevin. It still feels wrong. Nicole. What feels wrong is living in someone else's house at 37 years old. What feels wrong is putting our lives on hold waiting for, This way, everybody wins. Your mom gets taken care of, we get our future. It's the smart choice, baby. Trust me, there were more. Dozens more. Planning, strategizing. Nicole wearing Kevin down bit by bit, turning concern into conspiracy. The final email was from 3 days ago, while I was still in the hospital. Nicole to Kevin. She'll be discharged soon. I'm clearing out her bedroom tomorrow. We need the space, and honestly, it'll help with the incompetence case if her living situation is already simplified when the petition goes through. The guest room is plenty for her. Kevin. Okay, but maybe we should wait until she gets home to... Nicole. No, it's easier this way. Trust me. Kevin knew. He knew everything. My son, my baby, the one I'd worked 2 jobs to raise, the one I'd sacrificed every comfort for, knew his wife was stealing from me, and he'd let it happen. I forwarded the entire email chain to my own account, deleted the forwarded message from Nicole's sent folder, closed the laptop, walked to my small bedroom on legs that didn't feel like my own, and then, finally, I cried. Not the angry tears of betrayal, though that was there. Not the frightened tears of someone losing everything, though I felt that too. These were the tears of a mother realizing she'd lost her son long before this. Maybe lost him the moment he chose a woman who saw me as an obstacle instead of a person. Maybe lost him when he stopped visiting me in the hospital. Or maybe, and this was the thought that hurt most, maybe I'd never really had him at all. Maybe I'd raised him to be too comfortable, too soft, too willing to let someone else make the hard choices. I cried until my ribs ached and the surgical incision burned and my eyes were swollen shut. Then I washed my face, printed out the emails at the library where no one could trace them, and took them to James Patterson's office. He read them in silence. Then he looked up at me, and I saw something in his face I hadn't seen before. Anger. Mrs. Johnson, we have them. Everything we need. The question now is, what do you want to do? I want my house back, I said. And I want my son to understand what he's done. Then it's time for a family meeting. He pulled out his calendar. Saturday at 2 o'clock. My office. You, Kevin, Nicole, and anyone else you think should be there. Nicole's mother, I said. Susan Mitchell. She should know what her daughter has become. James nodded. I'll send the formal invitations. But Mrs. Johnson... He paused, choosing his words carefully. After Saturday, nothing will be the same. Your son is going to have to choose between you and his wife. Are you ready for that? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Then I said the truest thing I'd said in years. It's not me making him choose. He already chose. I'm just making him face it. I didn't sleep the night before I talked to Kevin. I lay in his old bedroom, my bedroom now, I suppose, though I still thought of it as temporary, and practiced what I'd say. I imagined different versions of the conversation. In some, he broke down and apologized. In others, he defended Nicole. In the worst ones, he looked at me with those cold eyes I'd seen in the hospital and said I was overreacting. By the time the sun came up Friday morning, I'd abandoned the script. There was no way to prepare for this, no way to soften it. I waited until Nicole left for her brunch meeting, which, according to the credit card statement James had helped me pull, was actually just brunch at an expensive restaurant with her friends, charged to my Visa. Eggs Benedict and bottomless mimosas on my dime. Kevin was at the kitchen table with his laptop, working from home. He had his earbuds in, nodding along to something, completely absorbed. I walked over and gently pulled one earbud out. "Mom, hey, I'm on a call. Hang up," I said quietly. Something in my voice made him look up, really look at me, maybe for the first time in months. "I'll call you back," he said into the laptop, then closed it. "What's wrong? Are you feeling okay? Is it the surgery?" "Put the laptop away, Kevin." "Completely away." He closed it, pushed it to the side. "You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared." I sat down across from him. "I know about the mortgage, the $80,000 you and Nicole stole from my house." The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might faint. "What? I know about the forged signature. I know about the conservatorship petition. I know about the plan to sell my house and split the money." I kept my voice level, clinical. "I know everything, Kevin, so please don't insult me by lying." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. "I have the emails," I continued, "every single one between you and Nicole, where she talks about accessing our inheritance early, where you express doubts and she talks you out of them, where she calls me one sick old lady and says people will believe you over me." "Mom," his voice cracked. "You knew." I felt my composure slipping, fought to hold it. "You knew she forged my signature. You knew she was stealing from me, and you helped her." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Kevin?" The question came out sharper than I intended. "Please, explain to me how stealing from your mother is not like that." He stood up, started pacing. His hands were shaking. "Nicole said, she said we were doing you a favor, that you were getting older, that managing this big house was too much for you, that we were just helping you transition." "Helping me transition?" "Kevin, she threw all my belongings in the backyard while I was in the hospital recovering from emergency surgery. She took over my bedroom to film makeup videos. She forged my signature on an $80,000 loan." I stood up too, facing him. "Does that sound like helping?" "I told her to wait. I told her we should talk to you first. But you didn't stop her." Silence. "You didn't stop her," I repeated, quieter now. "You saw what she was doing and you let it happen. And that night I knocked on your door because I was in so much pain I could barely stand. Do you know what she did?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "She told me to take Tums and go back to bed. She said I was overreacting. And you—" My voice broke. "You never even came out to check on me." "I didn't know," he whispered. "She told me you were fine. And you believed her. Instead of checking on your mother yourself, you believed her." Kevin sank back into his chair, his head in his hands. "I'm sorry. God, Mom, I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't give me back my house. Sorry doesn't erase the $80,000 you stole. Sorry doesn't—" I had to stop, had to breathe. "I was in the hospital for 12 days, Kevin. 12 days. You visited once, 20 minutes. You checked your phone the whole time. I had work. Margaret visited 7 times. Your mother's 70-year-old neighbor visited 7 times. She brought me soup. She held my hand. She was there when the doctors told me I'd almost died. I felt tears coming but pushed them back. Where were you?" He looked up at me then, and I saw it. Real remorse, maybe for the first time. "I was being a coward. I was letting Nicole convince me that you were fine, that you were just being dramatic, because it was easier than facing the truth." "What truth?" "That I was choosing her over you. That I was letting her treat you like garbage because it meant I didn't have to deal with conflict. That I was—" He choked on the words. "That I was turning into someone you didn't raise me to be." I sat back down, suddenly exhausted. "Do you know what hurts most, Kevin? It's not the money. It's not even the house, though God knows I bled for every brick in these walls. It's that you forgot who I am. You forgot that I worked 2 jobs after your father died so you could have a future. That I cleaned offices at night and sold tamales on weekends so you could go to college. That I wore the same 3 outfits for 5 years so you could have new clothes. I know, Mom, I know. Do you? Because the Kevin I raised would never steal from someone who sacrificed everything for him. The Kevin I raised would never let his wife abuse a sick old woman. I leaned forward. When did you stop being that Kevin? He was crying now, really crying. I don't know. Somewhere along the way, Nicole started making me feel like I deserved more. Like you owed me something for all those sacrifices. Like taking from you was just evening the score. I never asked you to even any score. I gave you those things because I loved you. Because that's what parents do. I know, but Nicole convinced you otherwise. He nodded miserably. I let the silence sit between us for a long moment. Outside, I could hear children playing in someone's yard, a dog barking, the ordinary sounds of life continuing while mine fell apart. Here's what's going to happen, I said finally. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, you and Nicole are coming to my lawyer's office. He has all the evidence, the emails, the forged documents, the financial records, everything. Nicole's mother will be there too. Kevin's head snapped up. Susan? She deserves to know what her daughter has become. Just like I deserve to know what happened to my son. Mom, please. You have 2 choices, Kevin. You can divorce Nicole, move out, get your own place, and spend the next year in therapy figuring out why you let this happen. Or you can stay with her, and I press criminal charges against both of you. I kept my voice steady. Those are your only options. But I love her. Do you? Or do you love the idea of her? Because the woman who convinced you to steal from your dying mother isn't someone worthy of love, Kevin. She's someone worthy of contempt. He put his head back in his hands. I watched him struggle, watched him try to find some way out, some compromise that would let him keep everything. There wasn't one. I can't just leave her, he said finally. Then you're choosing her over me, and I'll press charges. Mom, I'm not negotiating. I stood up. Tomorrow at 2. You'll make your choice then, in front of everyone. I walked to my room, the small room, the room I shouldn't be sleeping in, and closed the door. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit on the bed to steady them. Through the door, I heard Kevin make a phone call. His voice was too muffled to make out words, but I could hear the tone. Urgent, desperate. He was calling Nicole. Let him, I thought. Let them spend the night worrying. Let them feel, for once, what it's like to have the ground crumble beneath your feet. That evening, Margaret came over with dinner. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. You talked to him. I nodded against her shoulder. How bad was it? Bad. I pulled back, wiped my eyes. But necessary. We ate her chicken casserole in silence for a while. Then Margaret said, I'm proud of you, you know. For what? Destroying my relationship with my son? For standing up for yourself. For not letting them get away with it. She reached across and squeezed my hand. A lot of women your age, our age, we were raised to keep the peace. To make ourselves small. To accept whatever scraps of respect our families throw us. But you're fighting back. I don't feel very brave. Bravery isn't about feeling brave, Barbara. It's about doing the hard thing, even when you're terrified. Later that night, my phone rang. Susan Mitchell. Barbara? It's Susan. I got the documents from your lawyer. I'm sorry you had to see them. Don't apologize. I needed to see them. Her voice was thick with emotion. I had no idea Nicole was capable of this. When she told me you'd invited them to stay, I thought it was so generous of you. She made it sound like you were lonely, like you wanted the company. That's not exactly how it happened. I know that now. God, Barbara, I'm so ashamed. My daughter, she broke off. I'll be there tomorrow, and whatever you need from me, whatever I can do to help make this right, I'll do it. Just being there will help. Nicole needs to see that not everyone believes her version of reality. She'll have to face the truth tomorrow, even if she doesn't want to. After we hung up, I sat in the small room and thought about truth. How Nicole had twisted it, reshaped it, used it like a weapon. How Kevin had let her, because it was easier than facing reality. Tomorrow there would be no more twisted truths, just the bare, ugly facts. I was ready. Saturday, 2 o'clock. I arrived at James Patterson's office 15 minutes early. Margaret had offered to drive me, but I'd said no. I needed to do this alone. The receptionist showed me to a conference room. It had a long table, leather chairs, and windows overlooking the harbor. James was already there, documents organized in neat folders. "Mrs. Johnson, are you ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be." Susan Mitchell arrived next. She hugged me, and I could feel her trembling. "I haven't slept," she said. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed." "You couldn't have known." "I should have." At precisely 2 o'clock, Kevin and Nicole walked in. Nicole looked immaculate. Designer dress, perfect hair, makeup flawless. But I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes darted around the room, calculating. Kevin looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, rumpled shirt, like he'd aged 5 years overnight. Nicole stopped short when she saw her mother. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Susan didn't answer. She just looked at her daughter with an expression of profound disappointment. "Please, sit down," James said, gesturing to the chairs across from us. They sat. Kevin couldn't meet my eyes. Nicole was still trying to project confidence, but I could see cracks forming. James opened the first folder. "Thank you all for coming. Mrs. Barbara Johnson has retained my services to address allegations of financial elder abuse, fraud, identity theft, and attempted theft of property. Before we begin, I want to make something clear. Everything discussed in this room is being recorded and can be used as evidence in criminal proceedings." Nicole's face went pale, but she recovered quickly. "This is ridiculous. Barbara is clearly having some kind of—" "Let me finish," James interrupted, his voice steel. "Mrs. Johnson has provided substantial documentation to support her claims. We'll review it now." He began laying out the evidence piece by piece. Each document placed on the table like a card in a game of poker where all the cards were aces. The forged mortgage documents. "The signature on these papers is not Mrs. Johnson's. We have a handwriting analysis confirming this. The notary who stamped them has been interviewed by authorities and admitted he was paid $300 to notarize without proper identification." Nicole shifted in her seat. The bank statements. "Unauthorized withdrawals and transfers totaling $61,400, all to accounts controlled by Nicole Johnson or for purchases made by Nicole Johnson without Mrs. Barbara Johnson's knowledge or consent." Kevin put his head in his hands. The emails. Communications between Kevin and Nicole Johnson discussing their plan to access the inheritance early and expressing clear knowledge that the mortgage was obtained through fraud. "Those are private," Nicole started. "They were sent using equipment in Mrs. Johnson's home, using internet service she pays for. They're also evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud." James looked at her coldly. "Would you like me to continue?" Nicole fell silent. The conservatorship petition. An attempt to have Mrs. Johnson declared legally incompetent despite medical evidence from 3 separate physicians confirming she is of sound mind and fully capable of managing her own affairs. The house appraisal and sales calculations. A plan to sell Mrs. Johnson's property without her knowledge or consent, dividing the proceeds between Kevin and Nicole Johnson. With each piece of evidence, Nicole seemed to shrink in her chair. Kevin hadn't looked up once. Finally, James sat back. "These documents constitute clear evidence of elder abuse, fraud, forgery, identity theft, and conspiracy. If we proceed with criminal charges, both Kevin and Nicole Johnson are looking at felony convictions and significant prison time." "This is insane," Nicole said, but her voice had lost its edge. "Kevin, tell them we were just trying to help." "Stop." Kevin's voice was barely above a whisper. "Just stop, Nicole." Everyone turned to look at him. He raised his head, and his eyes were red-rimmed and devastated. "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep pretending this was okay. Kevin, you threw my mother's belongings in the backyard while she was in the hospital. You closed the door on her when she was in pain. You forged her signature on legal documents. You planned to have her declared incompetent and sell her house out from under her." His voice was getting stronger. "And you convinced me that this was somehow justified, that we deserved it, that she owed us." "She does owe you," Nicole shot back. "After everything she put you through, she raised me, alone, after my father died. She worked 2 jobs so I could go to college. She sacrificed everything for me. And you—" He turned to face her fully. You convinced me that her sacrifice was a debt I could collect on. Nicole stood up abruptly. I'm leaving. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Mrs. Johnson, James said, or I'll have you arrested right now. I have a detective waiting outside. Nicole sat, but I could see rage burning in her eyes. Susan spoke for the first time. Nicole, look at me. Nicole turned to her mother slowly. Is it true? All of it? Silence. Answer me. It's not like they're making it sound. We were trying to help. Barbara is old. She can't manage this house anymore. You were stealing from her, Susan said flatly. You were stealing from a woman who opened her home to you, who fed you, who treated you like family. She was in the way. The words hung in the air like a grenade. Say that again, I said softly. Nicole turned to me, and for the first time I saw her without any mask, just raw entitlement and resentment. You were in the way of our lives, of our future. We couldn't move forward because we were stuck in your house, under your rules, living your life instead of ours. So you decided to take it. We decided to take what was rightfully— Nothing in that house is rightfully yours. Kevin's voice cracked like a whip. Nothing. She built it. She paid for it. She earned it. And you made me believe we had a right to steal it. Nicole looked at him with something like betrayal. You're seriously taking her side? After everything I've done for you? What have you done for me, Nicole, besides turn me into someone I hate? The silence that followed was absolute. James cleared his throat. Mrs. Johnson has decided to offer you a choice. One chance to avoid criminal prosecution. Nicole's attention snapped to him. Option 1. You sign a confession admitting to all charges. You agree to repay the $61,400 on a payment schedule we'll establish. You vacate the property within 48 hours and never contact Mrs. Barbara Johnson again. In exchange, she won't press criminal charges. Option 2. We file charges immediately. You'll both be arrested, prosecuted, and likely convicted. You'll face prison time, hefty fines, and permanent criminal records. There's also option 3, I added quietly. Everyone looked at me. You apologize, sincerely. You acknowledge what you did was wrong, and we work out a payment plan that doesn't destroy your life completely. Nicole laughed, actually laughed. You expect me to apologize? For what? For trying to secure a future for your son? No, I said. For treating me like I was already dead. For acting like my life didn't matter because it was in the way of yours. The laughter died. For a moment, just a moment, I saw something flicker in Nicole's face. Shame, maybe, or recognition. Then it was gone, replaced by cold calculation. Fine, I'll take option 1. I'll leave. I'll pay you back. She looked at Kevin. Are you coming? Kevin shook his head slowly. No, I'm filing for divorce. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. He turned to me. Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me. Not now, maybe not ever. But I need you to know. I'm done. Done with her. Done with the person I became because of her. I'm moving out, getting my own place. And I'm going to spend however long it takes figuring out how to become someone you can be proud of again. Tears were streaming down my face, but I didn't wipe them away. That's all I ever wanted, Kevin. For you to be someone you could be proud of. Nicole signed the documents James put in front of her, her hand shaking with rage. Susan signed as witness, her face carved from stone. When it was done, Nicole stood. You'll regret this, all of you. I already do, Kevin said quietly. I regret every minute I spent believing your lies. Nicole grabbed her purse and walked out, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. The door slammed behind her. Susan stood, came around the table and hugged me. I'm so sorry. For all of it. You didn't do this. She did. I raised her, though. Somewhere I failed her. Susan pulled back, wiping her eyes. I'll make sure she honors the payment plan, even if I have to pay it myself. That's not your responsibility. Yes, it is. She's my daughter, and when your child does wrong, you help make it right. After Susan left, it was just Kevin, James, and me. I'll give you two some privacy, James said, and stepped out. Kevin and I sat there, across the conference table, the evidence of his betrayal spread between us. I don't know how to fix this, Mom. Neither do I admitted. But maybe Maybe we start with the truth, and we go from there. What truth? That you hurt me, badly, and that it's going to take time, a long time, for me to trust you again. He nodded, tears falling. I'll wait, however long it takes. And Kevin? Yeah? You need therapy, real therapy, not just for me, but for yourself, to figure out how you let someone like Nicole control you, so it never happens again. I already made an appointment. First session is Monday. We sat in silence for another moment. Then I stood, and so did he. I didn't hug him, not yet, but I put my hand on his shoulder, just briefly. You can come over for dinner on Sunday, if you want. I want, he said quickly. I really want. 6 o'clock, don't be late. 3 months later, and life had found a new rhythm. Nicole was gone, moved to Nevada with her mother, where Susan had taken a job to help her daughter get back on her feet, while also keeping her on a short leash. The first payment arrived on time, $1,000, then the second, then the third. Susan called me after each one to apologize again. You don't have to keep doing this, I told her. Yes, I do. Not for Nicole, for me. Because I need to know I raised someone who can eventually do the right thing, even if it takes forever. Kevin got his own apartment, a modest one-bedroom across town. He'd filed for divorce, and Nicole hadn't contested it. I suspected she wanted to be rid of him as much as he needed to be free of her. He came for dinner every Sunday, exactly at 6. At first it was awkward. We'd talk about safe things, his job, the weather, a movie he'd seen. We danced around the real topics like they were landmines. But therapy was helping him, and time was helping me. One Sunday, about 2 months in, he helped me wash dishes after dinner. Mom? Yeah? I've been working with my therapist on understanding what happened, why I let her manipulate me. I kept washing, giving him space to talk. She helped me see that Nicole found all my weak spots, my guilt about how hard you worked, my feeling like I never measured up to Dad, my fear of not being successful enough, and she used all of it to make me believe taking from you was somehow justified. That doesn't excuse it. I know, but it helps me understand how I got there, so I don't get there again. He was quiet for a moment. I also realized something else. What's that? I spent so long thinking about what you sacrificed for me that I forgot to be grateful for it. I turned it into a burden instead of a gift. I stopped washing, turned to look at him. And I'm sorry for that, he continued. I'm sorry I took everything you gave me and acted like you owed me more. You didn't owe me anything, Mom. You gave me everything. I dried my hands on the towel slowly. Thank you for saying that. I mean it, every word. We finished the dishes in comfortable silence. It wasn't forgiveness yet. Not complete, anyway. But it was a start. That night after Kevin left, I walked through my house. My real house. The one I'd reclaimed. I'd moved back into the master bedroom, but I'd changed it. New paint, a soft yellow instead of the blue it had been. New curtains, new bedding. I kept Arthur's picture on the nightstand, but I added new photos too. One of Margaret and me at the harbor. One of the rose bush, blooming again after I'd nursed it back to health. The house was quiet. But this time, it was the good kind of quiet. The kind that meant peace, not loneliness. I thought about Nicole sometimes. Wondered if she'd ever understand what she'd done. Probably not. People like that rarely did. They spent their lives convinced the world owed them something, never realizing everything they'd been given. But I didn't spend much time thinking about her. She'd taken enough of my time already. Instead, I thought about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I was 67, not ancient. I had good health. Better now that the gallbladder was gone. I had this house paid off and mine. I had savings, what was left of them, and more coming back monthly from Nicole's payments. I had time. Margaret had been encouraging me to take art classes at the community center. You always said you wanted to paint, she reminded me. What's stopping you? Nothing, I realized. Nothing was stopping me anymore. I signed up for a watercolor class. Turns out I wasn't very good at it. But I enjoyed it, and that was enough. I also started volunteering at a legal aid clinic for seniors, helping other elderly people navigate financial abuse cases. James had connected me with them, thought my experience might help others. It did, more than I expected. There were so many of us, Older women who'd been made invisible by our own families, who'd been told we were burdens, that we took up too much space, that our lives mattered less than the lives of younger people. I helped them find lawyers. I sat with them in court. I held their hands when they cried. And I told them over and over, "You matter. Your life matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." One afternoon, about 4 months after the meeting with James, I was sitting on my porch with Margaret. We were drinking iced tea and watching the neighborhood kids play in the street. "You look happy," Margaret said. "I'm happy. Is that weird, after everything?" "Not weird at all. You fought for yourself. You won. You get to be happy." "I thought I'd feel more, I don't know, triumphant maybe, or vindicated." "What do you feel instead?" I thought about it. "Free. I feel free." Margaret smiled. "That's better than vindication." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Margaret asked, "What about Kevin? Are you two going to be okay?" "I think so. Eventually." I paused. "He's trying, really trying. And I can see him changing, little by little, becoming the person I always knew he could be. And if he'd chosen Nicole instead, then I would have survived that too." I looked at my house, my beautiful house that I'd built with my own hands. That's what I learned through all of this. I'm stronger than I thought I was, strong enough to stand alone if I have to. "But you don't have to." "No," I agreed. "I don't." 6 months after the meeting, Kevin brought me something. It was Sunday dinner, our weekly ritual now. But this time, he arrived with a wrapped package. "What's this?" "Just open it." I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a framed photograph, one I'd thought was lost forever. Me and Arthur, young and happy, standing in front of the empty lot where we'd build our house. The same photo that had been in the boxes in the backyard, the one I thought was ruined by water damage. "How did you—" "I took it to a restoration specialist. Cost me $300, but they were able to save it." Kevin's voice was thick. "I know it doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to have it back. I wanted you to know that I remember. I remember what this house means, what you sacrificed to build it, and I'm sorry I forgot." I looked at the photo, at Arthur's young face, at my own hopeful smile, and I started crying. Kevin hugged me, and this time I hugged him back. Really hugged him, for the first time since he'd betrayed me. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you for remembering. I'll never forget again. I promise." Now, sitting on my porch as the sun sets, I think about everything that happened. The betrayal, the fight, the slow, painful healing. I think about the woman I was 6 months ago, scared, invisible, shrinking herself to fit in the spaces other people left for her. And I think about the woman I am now, someone who knows her worth, someone who won't be moved or managed or made small ever again. The house is quiet behind me, my house, the one I built, the one I fought for, the one I reclaimed. I look at the rose bush, blooming pink and healthy in the garden. Growth takes time, I thought when I planted it. So does healing. Both are happening now, slowly, patiently, but they're happening. My phone buzzes, a text from Kevin. "See you Sunday, Mom. I love you." I text back. "Love you too, 6 o'clock. Don't be late." The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow, I have my watercolor class. Wednesday, I'm helping a woman named Dorothy navigate a conservatorship case. Friday, Margaret and I are going to see a movie. My calendar is full. My life is full. Not with other people's expectations or demands or judgments, but with my own choices, my own peace, my own hard-won freedom. I sit on the porch of the house I built, and I am content. Not because everything is perfect. It isn't. But because I fought for what was mine, and I won. And that makes all the difference.